Hey, this is Regina White Favors with another Favors Mentoring School topic. And the topic is Detach, Makeshift, Handicaps. This is a little strange for me. Even though I wrote it in a book, the more that I think about it, especially when I want to put audio to aspects of the book, this gets me thinking a little bit. Makeshift, let me define the terms for a minute. Makeshift essentially is serving as a temporary substitute, something sufficient for the time being. And then handicap is essentially a circumstance that makes progress or success difficult, right? And then detach is essentially to separate yourself from something. So you got three different types of terms that are going on in this one simple statement: detach, makeshift, handicaps. So you have to, I guess, what you have to do is look at the makeshift part of it in terms of your belief system, and the handicap part of it is in terms of crutches that you take on, crutches that you walk with, people that you entertain, tolerate, activities that you do if you are prone to respond to an offense with violence. That becomes a handicap. It's a makeshift situation for you because you are using it as a temporary substitute. You are using it as a substitute or something sufficient for the time being, right? And so it's makeshift. But then the longer you stay with it and continue to use violence as a solution to one problem, it becomes a solution for all of your problems because you don't have the learning process of or the self mentoring, saying that, hey, this is not a good idea to do. Whenever I fight, I end up getting hurt even more. It gets me set back. You don't have the self awareness and the self reflection and the thinking to yourself, okay, maybe this is not a good idea for me to do. But as long as you feel like it works, like every time you get into a fight, you use violence to solve the problem and you win, then you feel like it works. Because then, if you try to do the alternative to speak peacefully and have a peaceful conversation with someone, there is the assumption that that is not going to work. You're going to go through this whole script in your head that the person is going to reject you, the person is not going to listen, the person is going to say this, then a person is going to provoke you, and the person is going to do X amount of things, and then you're going to end up fighting anyway. So why don't I just go on ahead and solve it and just fight the person anyway, right? Again, the problem with that that belief system, that makeshift type of belief system that later becomes a handicap, is that you cannot use violence as a solution in every context. You may be able to use violence, for example, within a neighborhood, and then you have neighborhood friends and you have people, family who got your back and everything, and then you come out strong and you live to fight another day, right? Okay, but you can't take that on a job. You can't take that in certain environments, public social environments. You could be arrested. You could die. Someone could have a gun. Something could happen, or the person, you move that kind of solution, makeshift, makeshift solution to a different environment, and you could lose your life. You could actually become handicapped. Handicap is not the PC word today, but disabled. You could become disabled. So now the thinking in your mind, the distorted vision in your mind about how you solve problems, that you feel that is a good solution for you, has now the consequence of experience this on a daily basis because you are now in a disabled position. So the mind was essentially, disabled first because the body follows the mind. And so now we see what was going on in your mind, in your body. That's just a simple, very simple illustration of that. Maybe cheating. Say, for instance, we look at cheating. People who cheat in any other, it can be academic professional, personal, right? Academic in terms of academic cheating, cheating on a test, cheating in a class. Professional, skipping steps, not going through the proper way to do things. Like if you want to become a supervisor, you take a class, you take some professional development, you do what you need to do to learn how to become a supervisor, right? Personal, I always look at personal in terms of personal finances. If you live off credit cards, right, for example, then you are really cheating your financial process because you can't really live off credit cards forever. You can't make it a substitute, right? The makeshift is a substitute. You can't make it a substitute for learning what you need to learn about building an emergency savings fund, making sure that you have access to cash, later moving your thinking into investments at a very low level, making sure that you keep a job, you keep your own place as an adult, uh, all these different things that when you cheat and live off credit cards, there's a brick wall right at the end of the road. There's a brick. We always have our crossroad moments, right? And so we always want to take the easier route because it's much convenient and it gives us the immediate gratification. But down the road, there's always a down the road that you realize that, you know what, I should have learned what I needed to learn. So then the handicap part of it is going to always be that very thing that you didn't learn is hindering now your progress and future success. I had to be set back financially because in my, let me see, late 30s to 40s, middle 40s, because I didn't learn what I needed to learn when I was working in high school and then all of my 20s. And so then that makeshift belief system that, hey, I can just get student loans, or hey, I can just get credit cards to fund my lifestyle or whatever will be enough. Well, the chickens, the whatever, the turkeys, the chickens came to roost, and I became homeless, losing my job, and then becoming homeless rather. Had to relocate from San Diego to Dallas, come back home to Dallas. Then I had issues with family. I had to live in homeless shelters. And so, whatever thinking that I had in my 20s, that distorted vision that I had, sort of realized itself or came to fruition or came to manifestation later in my 30s and my 40s. I looked like what I thought back then. So I thought homeless, even if I didn't call it homeless, or I thought setback, even if I didn't call it setback. I thought scarcity mindset, even if I didn't have the awareness of something like that. And I definitely thought procrastination, because I definitely had an awareness of procrastination, because I called myself the queen of procrastination. And so the procrastination is essentially procrastinating the learning process that you need to have when you are going through whatever seasons, levels, environments that you're going through in your life. And so procrastinating about learning in terms of finances affected me much later when I got to my 40s, when I needed money to work for me, or I needed credit to work for me. I had already made my credit so bad, got my credit score so bad that even if I could get credit to help me, or even if I could get a loan to help me, I couldn't do it. So then there was this repair process. I had to detach from this idea that leaning on credit cards as a crutch um, is not a good thing, and that I need actually access to cash. I also had to detach from this idea that I can just make it. You know, we all have that understanding. I can just make it, uh, and not make it with actual savings in the bank. I also had to detach from the idea of not having any money should an issue arrive. Like, who goes about as an adult and not be able to grab at least three to $500 in the bank? You may have some stuff tied up in investments or something like that, but if something happened and you had to leave, could you take $500 at least and put yourself in a motel? Or could you, or you do need a little bit more than that, but I'm just saying, could you do that? I didn't even have that. So I had to detach from this idea that savings is something that I do later in life. No, I needed to do that much earlier in life. I missed the opportunity to learn that and apply that learning. So it wasn't until my middle to late 40s that it became clearer, because I was tired. I was ready to settle down. I was tired of being homeless, or I was tired of jumping from thing to thing. I was tired of struggling. I wanted to start paying my bills. I needed to start paying my student loans. And so I was able to get a full time job. And now I'm in a much better understanding about emergency savings. I'm already building that up. If something should happen, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, unless someone clocks me over the head and takes my debit card and take all my money out, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I could go somewhere and stay for at least 2 to 3 months. That is where I am in my thinking, and I'm so thankful for that. But it should not have taken all that long to do it. However, I'm glad that I have the opportunity to learn. So when you're thinking about detaching from makeshift handicap, think about anything that you lean on, and that you always have at in the pit of your stomach, in the back of your mind, that this is not a good ideal to lean on. This person is not a good ideal to lean on. I need to do better. Every time you say something, I need to do better. I need to do better. I'm tired of doing this to myself. I'm tired. I'm tired of not having any money. I'm tired of not having this. I'm tired of living on this person's couch. I'm tired of not making enough money to pay bills. Wherever you say you are tired of, go back and chart your decision making to a root belief system, or whatever you've been exposed to. Whatever, if you've been exposed to a situation where you were always homeless as a child, like your mother or father moved you around all the time, you guys always lived with somebody, okay, that is your pattern, that's your norm, and it could be a curse, right? And so if that's a problem for you and you're calling it a problem, it's now time to begin addressing it. Don't yell at your mother, don't yell at your father, leave them alone. Take note of what they didn't do, learn from their mistakes, and then go and make sure that you keep a place on your own, right? That's how you detach from makeshift handicaps, because some things can't always be your fault if you grew up in that environment. However, once you take on your life as an adult, you can no longer operate your life as a child. And if you're living on somebody's couch, if you are living at somebody's place that is not your place, right, then that is a makeshift handicap, because what happens is if you stay beyond your time, you're going to become a squatter. And then squatter is the crutch, is the handicap aspect of it, the disabled aspect of it, because you're not putting in um, a record of living somewhere else, so that when you do get money, you can get your own place, right? Um, um, and so now you're operating. Think about the people that you see out on the street right now who are homeless. Okay, if you're homeless, a lot of times it is because you ignored an instruction, you missed a step. There's a gap in your understanding about how to manage life. You missed a step, right? Something that you did, you skipped over a bunch of steps thinking that you were going to get somewhere quick enough, and then it didn't pan out the way that you wanted, and so then you basically operated on the fumes of that decision until the car ran out of gas completely, right? And so now you are somewhere and nowhere at the same time, and you're trying to live at somebody's house to try to pull your life together, but you don't really know how to do that. You don't know how you're going to go about doing that, right? And so instead of actually trying to ask questions or get help or get some guidance, you create a situation in the house that's chaotic, toxic, to the point that the person kicks you out. Then they kick you out and you're homeless again. So then you're back in your norm. So then the makeshift is the belief system aspect of it. You can't depend on anybody, right? They always kick you out. And then the handicap or the disabled or distorted vision part of it is that you're actually out somewhere homeless because of your belief system. And so when you are thinking about detaching makeshift handicaps, you always got to go back to the root cause. You always got to go back to what you were exposed to, what the parental influence was, but then also moving out of the parent influence into your own influence as an adult, because now you are taking you where you're going. You can no longer blame the parent. You can no longer blame the friend, even if the friend got you into some mess. It is still you who allowed the friend to get you into some mess. Period. You still concurred, or you still consented, or you still agreed. There's a scripture in the Bible, Amos 3:3, can two walk together unless they agree? So if you're in the same car with someone who is going in a direction, you put yourself into the car. It's not like the person snatched you off the street. Unless you were planning to meet the person, then that's your complicity, right? But if you're on the street and you're catching a bus and some car drives up and tries to snatch you off the street and put you in the car, that's that person putting you in the car. You didn't do that to yourself. Now, there may be some exceptions to the rule. There may be, if someone tried to warn you about cars coming by and snatching, and people in the car snatching you off the street, and they tell you don't stand so close to the street, and you ignore that warning, then that part is your complicity. But the person putting you in a car can't be your complicity, and that person is operating from a makeshift handicap as well. So just thinking about that, when you uh if you are homeless, a lot of times it is because you missed a step, you ignored an instruction, you covered everybody else but yourself. That was my problem. I was making sure everybody else could pay their rent, or everybody else can get whatever they need to get done for themselves. And then when it came time for me to need something, I didn't have it. And then I struggled with paying my rent because I was volunteering my finances, volunteering my time, volunteering too much beyond my capacity. That means I didn't necessarily have an awareness of what my capacity was at the time. I've noted this in multiple audios. If your rent is $1,200 and you have $1,200 in the bank, you've already paid the current month, but you have an extra $1,200 in the bank. That doesn't mean that you have $1,200 to consider using to give part of that to somebody. You just have your extra month rent in advance. And plus, anything could happen, right? So again, if you had more than that, maybe 6 months, it depends on if you are creating a 6 month, if your goal is to create and sustain a 6 month emergency fund, you still don't have it. But if you have a year's worth of money in the bank, right, in excess of your rent, then you may consider what the person is going through, make a decision, maybe offer part of it, but not full of it, and then you can take it from there. So we have to detach from makeshift handicaps, meaning that we need to detach from our own distorted, belief systems about things, attitudes, and behaviors. It's not always what is external to us, it is always what is internal to us. No one can really take you down without your help, right? You take yourself down. If you get yourself into a situation, or you find yourself into a situation that is threatening, life threatening, it is because you ushered yourself into that situation. Even if the person hit you, knocked you out, tried to kill you, choke you out, or whatever, you wouldn't be in that person's house, or that person wouldn't be in your house, had you not gone to their house, and had you not invited that person to your house. So we get into these types of situations based upon what we believe can serve as something sufficient for the time being. That's why you have a lot of women who may move in men, or a lot of men who may try to help a woman um, who cares nothing for him to get better in life, right? We go out with our thinking and our behaviors and our patterns and our pride and our ego to try to help people before we actually understand what their problem is. We don't even know what their problem is. They're just saying, "Hey, I need $50. Okay, so why do you need $50? We don't ask those questions. We don't want to seem impolite. We people please too much. We don't want to offend. But maybe you need to offend because if that person keeps coming to you and asking for $50, that's becoming their pattern. And you are that's becoming their makeshift belief that I can always ask you for money if I need it. And it's becoming their pattern in terms of the handicap. And not only are they going to have to detach from their own makeshift handicaps, you're going to have to detach from them too, because there will come a time that if you don't give them something, they're going to have a major problem with it, and it could be life threatening for you. So when you're thinking about makeshift, just remember the definition: serving as a temporary substitute, something sufficient for the time being. And then handicap is any circumstance that makes progress or any type of success a difficult thing for you to accomplish, right? So anything, so you think about the success you want to achieve with a particular thing. You set a goal, you endure the goal, you complete the goal. The success part of it is the completion of the goal. Success is not money, right, or status or fame. Success is your ability to complete goals that you start. And so, anywhere that you are struggling, any sort of areas of your life that you know you need to complete, some things are preferences, some things are options, some things are not things that you really care about, right? So then, if you don't care anything about that, don't reassess those goals. But anything that you care about that is bothersome to you, and you don't understand why you didn't finish it or complete it or something like that, that's what you go back to and you assess it and see what the makeshift aspect of it is, the belief system, and what the handicap aspect of it is, which could be also mental and physical, of course. All right, so this is Favors Mentoring School. Detach Makeshift Handicaps. Visit ReginaYFavors.com for more tips. Also, visit the Amazon author page, Amazon.com /author /Regina Y. Favors. Thank you very much for listening.